Welcome to the 416 podcast. This is the interview series with Wayne and Cindy Rodgers. And today with me is Drew Reece, and we are in Columbia City, Indiana. And we're going to talk about some things, and I hope to introduce you to the congregation here a little bit and to Drew. So Drew, just take a moment, if you will, and introduce yourself to those listening and watching.
So, as you mentioned, I'm Drew Reece. I'm the minister here at the Lincolnway Church of Christ in Columbia City, Indiana. I graduated Memphis School Preaching in 2019. I've been preaching here for 5 years. The first 3 years that I was here, I was with Larry Reynolds, working alongside him. But then the last couple of years, I've been by myself here. But enjoyed it.
And so, as a Memphis grad, we like to always ask just kind of your experience at Memphis. You know, because I know. Talking to a bunch of graduates and everything, you know, well, it says, you know, it's the hardest but best 2 years, you know. So beyond the hardest and best 2 years of your life, what was your real experience at MSOP?
Yeah, so Mark Reynolds was actually the one that got me to go to preaching school. Took me there for the first time. He told me that exact same thing. Said it's going to be the best 2 years, but the hardest 2 years of your life. And when I say it's my best 2 years, I think my wife doesn't like it too much because it was before we were married, but. It was a great 2 years. You learn a whole lot, and it's a lot of studying and a lot of time spent. But I think you grow relationships with people there unlike any other, because you're there with people that are going through it with you. And it's the only time in my life that I've ever lived and been around Christians that consistently. And like the friends that I made there are still some of my best friends, some of the greatest times, funnest memories that I've got. And then ultimately the knowledge and the teaching that I got when I was there is what's kind of carried me through and helped me in ministry and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, and you think about those friendships that you gain while you're there, people that you didn't know. And it also gives you an opportunity to really see the church in a broader sense too while you're there. Yeah. And so that's some of the things I'm starting to realize, you know, that even going there as a student, you see brethren from all over. You know, you get to meet these men that are there to preach, but they're from all over the country. You know, they're from all over our country, but also, you know, we've got foreign students there. You know, so all over the world, and I think that's impressive to me, just showing the greatness of the kingdom, if you will, in many ways. But it also kind of brings us then to start thinking about the church work. And so you moved up here, and you were from the area. Yeah. And so this is home area for you. Absolutely. And I love that, you know, just to come back and invest your time back here, you know, so much obviously invested in you, you know, while you were here, you know, helping you learn about Christ and things like that. And I'm glad that you mentioned Mark and Brother Larry as well, too. Great brethren, and I hope to get to interview them too before I leave here this week. But when I think about the work here, specifically, what brought you back right here? We can kind of start there.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's that love for the people. Yeah. And it was a mindset of, look, I don't want to go and preach somewhere else and then see congregations that I care about and people that I care about struggling. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's I want to do the best that I can with the people that I know, the people that I care about. And ultimately, I love it. Like you said, it is home for me. Sure. And I want to mention or go back to kind of what you were saying about like in preaching school, you get to be around all those people, because growing up in the North, like you said, I grew up coming to this congregation. Mm-hmm. You're kind of isolated to an extent, especially like in this congregation. We're getting a little bit better about going out and doing stuff. Like we had a group that went to polishing the pulpit and stuff this year, but you feel alone. Like when I was in school, like I thought like we were the Christians and that was it. Like when I was in elementary school, I thought the church was the Lincolnway Church of Christ and that was all that there was. Yeah. So it does open your eyes. Like when I went down there and like I had Luau Soli from American Samoa, Carlton Graham from Jamaica. Then you get to attend at Forest Hill every once in a while when I went preaching somewhere else, and you see congregations that are bigger. So it makes you want to bring that energy back and to kind of get to incorporate some of it. And ultimately, I wanted to introduce some of the people here to the things that are going around in the brotherhood and get them to be around other Christians and have that same feeling that I kind of got when I first left. So.
Yeah, the work here at Lincolnway, Is there something specific you'd want to even highlight, about the work that you're doing right here locally? And I know, and I'm grateful the idea of, taking members here and letting them see the church in a bigger light too, because that's important. That's something that certainly we've experienced in the past too, is, just trying to introduce our brethren to good works throughout the brotherhood and things like that. And so we want them to know about those resources. But as far as locally, what is the work of the church right here locally, if you will?
Trying to get the word. We've gotten better at evangelism here. And I want to brag on a member. This is a really young congregation, as you got to experience on Sunday. But we're really young, and there's a lot of kids, and it's growing. But it's always exciting when you see the members working, right?
Right.
So we've got a guy just graduated high school like 2 or 3 years ago, a buddy of mine. And he calls me up the other day. Well, I was going over and studying with him, and he says, hey, there's this guy that I worked with before. He sent me a text and said he wanted to study because when they worked together, they would drive in the truck and conversation would just make its way to something religious. So the guy wanted to study with him. And then I got a call Thursday before you came, and we went and baptized him.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So it's exciting seeing the members start to work, but obviously we're trying to work in the community and trying to get to know people. We have Rob coming the beginning of next year and trying to grow that work of evangelism a little bit more.
That's great. So. Is there a difficulty, thinking about the area, a little bit broader sense, but just thinking about, the Lincolnway congregation, but thinking about the brotherhood in this area, what's the difficulty here, obviously?
Just distance, I think, is a lot of times what it is. I was listening to a couple of the others, and like out in New York and out east and out west, I know it's further away, but here you do kind of get isolated as well. Yeah. So we've been trying to do stuff with other sound congregations that are in the area and trying to get our kids involved with other kids and make it known that, look, you're not alone, because it does get to feeling like that sometimes. When you're up, when you're down south, like you drive around, there's a Church of Christ on every street corner, and there's no shortage of it. But up here, it's a shock when you see one instead of kind of the norm. Right. So it's just the work of trying to get them introduced, trying to get people recognizing that we are here and that we're not the only ones. Yeah. So.
Well, I love the feel. A lot of times we talk about this. Sometimes when you walk into a congregation the first time, there's a feeling that you get. I mean, there's and you could tell immediately this congregation was vibrant, felt alive, excited to be here, and excited to be with one another, and and it was. That's always a good sign of a healthy congregation, but also just folks that want that love the Lord and love each other. And I think that was a great thing to be able to see that, and I'm glad for that to be the case here. Certainly, I know that the difficulty that can arise, certainly that feeling of isolation and being kind of separated from other people as well, or from other congregations at least. Is there something, because in the 416 Ministries, obviously part of our work is trying to build up the kingdom, build up congregations, but especially to keep preachers preaching. And so, if there's, you might want to share, if this is the case, something that, because I know that it can be discouraging because that isolated feeling and different things like that. Is there something that has helped you particularly that we might be able to share with others too?
Yeah, going back to being at Memphis and the friendships that you make there, it's great to get to, like going to Polishing the Pulpit or Memphis lectures and stuff like that. I get to see my friends and talk war stories, I guess. You get to talk about the things that we're going through. And it is like hard up here because I think I'm maybe one or two others, but we're separated from all the guys and the friends that we made and preachers, because up here there is a shortage of preachers. Right. Like, there's probably 5 or 6 congregations within a couple hours of here, and I think only 2 have a preacher that's full time. Yeah. So you don't have that same kind of support as a preacher that maybe you do in other places and other people that you get to rely on. But luckily, we live in a age where technology lets you talk to people, and it does. So when I've been going through hard times, because I mean, anytime that you're in a ministry, you're going to go through difficult stuff. But it's nice to be able to rely on those friendships and the people that you know are kind of doing the work too. So.
Right. Well, I think that's great, and certainly we want to make folks aware of Lincolnway congregation, what's the work that's being done here. You mentioned, and you hinted to it a little bit as we were talking, but you mentioned before we went on camera, just kind of a plea for preachers to come, to the area, to come, not this specific area, obviously, but to come up, to come to the north. There's this preacher shortage, obviously. And so there's a work to be done right here. I know Cindy has a question as well. So
yes. So when we came up here, y'all were telling us some things that we could do. We had friends that told us some things like going to the dunes yesterday. And so there's a national park up here that people can come to. So if they were coming, trying to hit all the national parks, and they made their way up here and came here for worship and wanted to be in this area. So what are some things that they can do? Maybe your favorite coffee shop and something else that they can do besides just the dunes.
Oh yeah, I love coffee. So there's a lot of good ones. The one that we went to, and you guys brought me coffee today. Thank you for that. But it's Brew Hot's right here in Columbia City. And then mine and my wife, Maggie, our favorite one is up in Napanee. It's a little ways, so it's probably 45 minutes from here. But it's called Main Street Roasters, and they roast their own coffee, and it's just a really nice big coffee shop and stuff. The area, there's not a ton of exciting things to do. It's a great place to live, but you have to go, and like you guys saw the dunes, and it is enjoyable. You're here in the perfect time of year, I think.
It's fall. It's beautiful.
The fall leaves are great right around here, but.
Shipshawana.
Yeah, Shipshawana is fun. Amish town and restaurants that are over there.
Yeah, somebody said, be sure and get maple syrup.
We're there. Absolutely. Yeah. One last thing before we leave. Well, you mentioned it, but going back to the kind of preachers, if you're a preaching student and you're looking for somewhere, don't be scared of the north. There are, we're a testament that there are congregations that are growing up here. We've grown pretty substantially in the last 7 years or so. We went from about 60 to 100. So there are congregations up here that are growing, and there's work that needs to be done. There's souls all over and people that are willing to hear you. So if you're a student, I know it's scary to leave the South, kind of, but don't be afraid to give it a shot. And
that's right.
It's a great place.
I've been so impressed here. Y'all have plans to build onto your building. You've grown so much. And so I think it's healthy, and it may be a hard work for a few years, but you can get there, and they need sound.
It's rewarding. Yeah. And the cool thing is everyone's kind of doing it. I think there's a sense of that understanding that, hey, we're a little bit in a mission field. If we're not doing it, no one else is going to.
Sure.
So it's great I love being up here, and don't be afraid to come up. So
absolutely, come up and check it out. That's and spend some time up here, and certainly Drew will get you in touch with folks maybe you need to know, or think about some certain areas to if you want to do some mission work or something like that. So Drew, thanks for sitting down with us, and thank you for tuning in. And obviously we'll have all the links for the Lincolnway Church of Christ here in Columbia City, as well as our links. And so I hope that you'll go and check out not only our page on YouTube, but the Scattered Abroad Network, who host our podcast. There's a lot of other podcasts on there as well, a lot of resources for studying the Bible. So we'll hope that you'll join us a little bit later. We'll see you further down the road.